Great. Okay, welcome everyone. So we have a nice crowd today. I thought it would be nice to start with a short introduction round. I'm the host, but I'm the only lady here, so I'll go first. How we do it usually, so whoever present themselves, then name someone else in the crowd, and they introduce themselves, and just like pick someone else, and so forth. So my name is Danielle. I'm from the Flatcar team. I'm a PM. I'm working on Flatcar. That's it. That's all I want to say for now. I'll hand it over to Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick from Akamai, senior engineer, here to provide a demo of Flatcar running on Akamai's connected cloud, aka Linode.
So who do you choose next?
Ooh, let's go to Steve. Steven Rust.
Cool. Hi, I'm Steve Rust. I'm an architect at Akamai to also talk about Flatcar on Akamai Linode today. I also work with Danielle in the CNCF, so nice to meet you all.
Who's next? How about Adrian? I'll do it for you.
Sorry, I totally failed on that. Sorry.
Hello, I'm Adrian. I work at Cloud-Based Solutions. I'm working on Flatcar and various Kubernetes / OpenStack projects. Nice to meet you.
I guess I'll take over. So, Chewy?
Hi, I'm Chewy, sometimes known as James. I'm also a Flatcar maintainer, the newest one, and also a Gen 2 maintainer as well. So I tend to get involved in that end of things. Not many user-facing changes from me yet, but we'll see. Mathieu.
Hi everyone, Mathieu, working in the Flatcar team on many features development, security, adding new providers, ignition, cluster API stuff. What about you, Thilo?
Hey, I'm Thilo. At Daytime, I manage the Linux OS and security team in Azure Core Linux. And most of my team members are Flatcar maintainers as well. I'm also a Flatcar maintainer in the little bit of time that I can spend working on technology. And yeah, so that's me. I work closely with Danielle on all things Flatcar. We have two guests with camera off, so it's entirely fine if you don't want to introduce yourselves. But should you want to introduce yourself, I chose Dasha. Dasha, do you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I'm here actually just to watch a demo from Nick because we are working together at Akamai Connected Cloud.
Awesome.
What do you do, the team, Dasha?
So my team does it works on internal Kubernetes platform. So basically in the same CNCF space, even though it's a different project.
Cool. I think we have also Ashley. Would you like to present yourself too?
I think Ashley dropped. I don't see her in the list anymore. But we have Evan.
Okay.
Hello. So I'm also at Akamai. I work with Nick, Steve, and Dasha. One of my focuses currently is on cluster API and the cluster API provider for Linode and Akamai. Working with all the folks over at Akamai.
Cool. I think that concludes everyone that is currently online on the stream. And so how about we start with the demo? So I'll hand it over to Nick and Steven.
Cool. So I have a short presentation just to talk about why we're here today, why we are interested in Flatcar at Akamai. And then Nick will be running the demo. So that'll cool. That looks amazing, right? Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for having us, folks. We're super happy to be here today. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Flatcar and Akamai. So just a quick overview. So Nick will be doing the demo today. Nick's a senior software engineer working on sort of our cloud native services team. Most recently really involved in the cluster API provider that Evan is kind of leading, as well as worked recently on CSI driver improvements. So Linode has kind of a split between open source projects on GitHub and some that are like managed services and so forth that are not open source because those are managed services. But a lot of the components are open source that run in our Kubernetes, both self-managed and on the managed service. So the CSI driver is one of those. We have like the cloud controller manager that you would expect, things like that. Yeah, so Nick also did all the development for the Flatcar support here. So anything related to Ignition and Afterburn and Flatcar, you guys have been super helpful on the Matrix chat with Nick, and so we really appreciate all your help there. And then me, so I'm a principal architect at Akamai working on all things cloud native. So sort of across all of our cloud native portfolio. That includes things like LKE, which is our managed Kubernetes service. The internal platforms like Dasha is working on, and that is essentially like, what do you run the cloud on, right? You can't run your own cloud on itself. You need to kind of bootstrap things and have a platform there to run things on. And then cloud services like different managed services that we can use internally as well as sell externally potentially. Additionally, I'm recently a new co-chair to Tag Runtime in the CNCF along with Danielle. So that's been another avenue. And of course, is one of our interests in immutable operating systems as the special purpose operating system group. So I'm super interested in that. And so for those of you who don't know, Akamai acquired Linode about 2 years ago now, which is kind of amazing. So I actually came over from Akamai, so I was not on the Linode previously, but had developed a couple different Kubernetes platforms within Akamai before the acquisition. And then when Linode came around, they kind of moved me and my team over to Linode to work on things, particularly LKE, and now expanding to all of Cloud Native. So we usually refer to things as Linode pretty much internally. I think the branding is a bit mixed externally. Linode.com is still there. The primary interface to Linode is still cloud.linode.com, things like that. But yeah, so Akamai's basically investing heavily in Linode, what was previously in Linode, and building all kinds of cloud stuff. And before Akamai, they supported CoreOS. So had this as an official image, you know, so there's a long history there really where CoreOS was one of the main distributions. And you can see in 2016, they had documentation around installing CoreOS manually on your Linode and how to do that for your, to upload your image and things like that. Around 2017, the CoreOS Container Linux variety was actually officially supported in the Cloud Manager. So as a like official image, like alongside Ubuntu or whatever, Debian, you had a CoreOS selection, which is pretty cool. However, I'm not sure if this is related to the acquisition timeframe, but the CoreOS, for obviously because you know, CoreOS transitioned away from being CoreOS, I guess is one reason. But certainly we deprecated it in Linode around 2022 is what I can glean from the Git commits for this documentation. So as of today, there is no immutable operating system selection within the Linode options. So you cannot deploy an image today and have it be officially supported. And that brings us to Flatcar. So we being the people on this call certainly have a big interest in bringing back that history and going forward with hopefully official Flatcar support. That is our plan. But we love to start with the kind of support that Nick will show today, and then kind of talk about how we can apply that to various pieces. And really, there's a number of ways that we can start. So virtual machines, we call them Linodes. That is what I mean by you can kind of create a Linode and choose an image. You need a base image there. We'd love to get Flatcar supported just on VMs, right? Once that is there, that can lead into something like Cluster API. So CAPL is the Cluster API provider for Linode. You need a single letter on the end of CAP if you're a provider, right? Like CAPZ and so forth in the world. But anyways, so we're CAPL. And once we have kind of Flatcar in the Linode ecosystem, that translates directly to CAPL because that just uses the Linode API to provision things, right? And then that's really all more or less in a self-service manner. We could use that for internal platforms as well, potentially, but then could lead us then into the managed service as well. So something like LKE or a flavor of LKE that wants to take advantage of that capabilities as well. So we'd love to kind of step through this starting from today and what we have to show you, and then step through our different offerings getting Flatcar integrated. So as an example, this is creating an image. Creating a Linode. We have an image selection, so this would be an official image. So if we get something like put a Flatcar in there, this is where the CoreOS previously was available, right? So you could go into the UI on the web and make your distro selection there. Separately, there's a concept of having an image available via API provisioning. So every image you upload or is available to deploy is not necessarily shown as an official image in the Cloud Manager. Those are kind of, vetted or fully tested kind of official things. You can always get it in the API, however, through various means. So we would love to get these. This is actually showing the official images that are in the API, but we'd love to get a Linode /Flatcar in here. To start with, you can upload your own, and then I kind of inserted in the middle there where it's currently a private image. I think that's what Nick is going to show today. And then the private image would be your own, but getting something that's publicly accessible, even if it's just in the API and not through the UI Cloud Manager, would be a great first step. And so what does that enable if we're in the API, right? So we have a couple options. One is I just threw this in here because we have it. So there's a Linode provider for Rancher. So similarly with self-service options, you can choose your images there. The turtle logo, that's the Cluster API logo, right? Because it's turtles all the way down. And then the green is the LKE logo. So as a, sorry, my computer is going to fall asleep in a second. Sorry about that, 1 second. Okay. power trouble. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so here this is just kind of showing our Rancher plugin. You choose your image there. You know, if the image is in the API, we can have it be accessible via standard Rancher. For CAPL, there's you can actually use this today. We recently had a public post about our initial release for CAPL, so you can try this out. This is the left side there is a publicly accessible book on our CAPL provider. And then LKE, right? So today, LKE has a standard base image. This is not something you can select as a user. So I think there's a couple options to provide here. Either we transition LKE to use Flatcar as a base image. I know there's a lot of reasons to do that that we're interested in. Another option, like for example, in EKS, customers can choose their own base image and then do their own upgrades if they want to do that. I'm not sure if that's the direction we want to go. Just from a simplicity standpoint, it's nice having the managed service be fully managed and kind of take care of all that for you. But there are certain classes of customers, like enterprise customers, that have different kernel requirements or whatever it is that they want to handle that themselves. There we go. Any questions before we get into demo?
Maybe just a brief remark. You might already be aware of this, but if you integrate Flatcar with CAPL, there's basically currently two ways of doing that. First is the, let's say, legacy way using image builder, which is still very, very widespread. And then there's a new thing that we're piloting. It works very well with the OpenStack provider already, and we're supporting more and more of the Flatcar supported providers as time goes on. And that is not pre-building images, but basically composing Kubernetes as a sysex into Flatcar, into stock Flatcar provisioning time. That is really the way we would recommend you to look at that, because it just solves a bunch of issues that you would have with the image builder. So those aren't even there with the sysex approach. And also down the road, it allows you to upgrade the operating system and Kubernetes independently of each other in place. That's not there yet. This work only started, but it's going to come.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would say all of that, it sounds really, really appealing. You know, the ability to do the OS and Kubernetes separately is great. I didn't mention, you know, a lot of the motivation here is around really in-place upgrades as well. So, you know, today in LKE, you have to basically destroy your node and get a new one, which is great for kind of repeatability, and you don't have to worry about upgrading things. But being able to have a real in-place solution as well for a lot of customers with persistent state is important. You know, keeping the local disks around, cross-upgrade. So that kind of capability is really interesting to us. Yeah, thank you. All right. You ready, Nick? Yeah.
I am, yeah. Share my screen. How's the font size for everyone? Is it good? Do you want it bigger, smaller?
Yeah, looks good, yeah.
Looks great.
How's that, Danielle? Yep. All right. All right, so what I'm going to do today is just quickly spin up a Linode running Flatcar. I'm going to spare you all the waiting game of getting an image and then uploading it. So I have all these just kind of pre-canned in a make file. So I'm going to go make instance. And I'm going to kind of explain each of the commands that get printed out as it runs. So the first command here is we're actually going to create the Linode instance. But we're going to make sure it's not booted. The purpose behind this is in a few steps more, we're going to create a custom instance configuration. Just we have to kind of do this 3-step process to launch Flatcar right now, only because there's a bunch of stuff we have to disable. So this will just provision away in the background. Oh, you can also see that I've got the user data coming in here. The ignition file's already kind of pre-generated. So then next up, we are going to make an instance disk. And this is basically just going to be the boot volume for the Linode when it comes up. The root password here, I'm not too worried about y'all knowing it because it's, I mean, it's, so there are some Linode helpers, which we'll get to in a moment. One of them lets you like reset your root password in case you forget it or for whatever reason. Those helpers get built, not really built into the actual like official images, but there's a bit of communication there. Because there's no helpers for this image built in, that root password never goes anywhere near that host. I just need to provide one to keep the API happy.
It's currently a required password on the API.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a no-op in this case.
Yeah. And then, so for the last step, we're going to make that instance config. So this is the one I'm going to explain a bit. So here, we got to set a couple little parameters. First one up, boot from direct disk. There are several modes on this one. I think one is to boot from the kernel on the host, on like the hypervisor host. The other one is to chain load or to boot into grub. In this case, I'm just saying direct disk. Like just go directly to that instance disk that we just created. And here's all of these helpers that I am just disabling because I don't need the hypervisor to keep trying to to poke at the OS image, being like, hey, can I enable update DB? Hey, can I mod probe some modules in there for you? Nah, don't need that. Just creating a basic label, assigning the disk to SDA, and this should all be ready to go. So the last thing I need to do is just boot up the instance. Cool. Going to wait for it to boot and then grab the IP address. Actually. Oh, so while this is booting, it's not going to take that long, but I figured I might as well just explain. In the butane config, all I'm doing is setting up an Nginx service running from Docker, and I'm creating a single page that has the instance label. So in this case, our instance label was Flatcar demo. Now, gotta grab that IP. Okay, we're booted. Grab the IP address. I'm going to share that screen instead. There it is. It's all booted. I thought about just doing like the heading to like it works, but you know, just to prove that we're actually pulling in some metadata. Yeah. So then I'll go back to my terminal. Oop. I want that IP address again. Okay. And just to prove, this is all stuff coming in from Ignition. Yeah. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, what is the instance tags? It was supposed to be default or something like that?
Instance tags. So tags are, in the Linode API, they are really just like a categorization thing. They have no bearing on anything else. I did not assign any tags to this Linode, but it should just be a comma separated list of strings.
And I don't remember what was the host name answer. I mean,
the host name.
Yeah, with Afterburn, you're supposed to get the host name, and I don't see it. I remember we discussed about this on Matrix, but I don't remember what was the answer.
So the host name is just nothing. it's local host. There's no, we don't, like, Linode does not assign an actual host name to the VM. So in this case, the option was just to let Ignition fall back to pulling in the public IP address and kind of just using that as the host name.
Okay, so currently, it's a 3 steps thing. You need to upload the image on Linode, then you create the disk, and then you start the disk you start the instance from the disk.
Yeah. Upload. Okay. Yeah, it's upload the image, create the instance, but make sure it's not booted. Create the instance disk to associate it to the image, and then create the instance configuration to bind the disk to the Linode, and then disable a bunch of the helpers.
Okay, good. And do you have a Terraform provider?
Yes, there is a Linode. There is a Terraform provider for Linode.
Okay, so that would be interesting to provide some examples while we're waiting for the official support. But yeah, that would be perfect to get the steps defined in Terraform on top of the documentation.
Of course. Yeah, I actually, so in getting all of this working, I did do it all through Terraform because I was just like, this lets me quickly create and destroy stuff. And yeah, I can add that to the documentation if you want for the Flatcar site.
Yeah, perfect. And we do have a repository for the Terraform examples, so that would be the perfect place for Terraform examples. I will provide you the links. But yeah, great to see this and great work for this.
And thank you, Mathieu, for all your help. It's been awesome.
So yeah, so now that would be perfect, yeah, to get the official image available on Linode, and yeah, we can open the tracker. So currently the status is that the Ignition feature has been implemented and Ignition has been released, and we pulled the new release into Flatcar, so it should be available in the next alpha, Ignition-wise. But we still miss the Afterburn release, which is not done yet. The Linode feature has been merged into Afterburn, but Afterburn is not released. So we still need to wait for this. But yeah, otherwise it's the only blocking thing, I would say, to get Linode official support. Official images, I would say. So for the next alpha, we will release with Ignition 2.19. So we should already be able to provide Linode images. But as I said, in Matrix or in this issue, I don't remember, that maybe that would be better to wait for the Afterburn support. Like, so we ship the whole Linode supports in one image. I don't know what's the best. We can discuss about this now or later. There is no rush. But yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Is there anything you need from us at the moment?
No, at the moment we just need to continue working on the documentation. So far it was perfect. Maybe a few typos or stuff like that, but if I recall correctly, it was mainly done. So yeah, we just need, as I said, to decide if we want to go ahead with a partial Linode support in the next release regarding the Afterburn new release, or if we just wait for the Afterburn official release. So yeah, we just need to decide this because, for example, if we go ahead and we continue and we release everything in the next week with Ignition and the OEM support, it means we will get Linode's official images with Ignition support, but not Afterburn support, which means no metadata. So that would be okay for users interested to try it, but it will be partial support. So just Ignition and not Afterburn. Okay. So yeah, we can discuss about this. What would be the best? And yeah, from your side, as I said, with Flatcar, there is a community support and official support. This is currently how we try to deal with the many providers we have. And the difference between official support and community support is regarding the CI. So we have 150 tests that run like before each release. And the idea would be, if we would to get official support on Linode, that would mean that we would run the test on Linode before each release. So it means we should implement the test suite to be able to run the test on Linode. So this should be all right, because there is a Go SDK for Linode.
Sure.
But yeah, that's the idea. It's not the most interesting part regarding development, because it's very specific to Flatcar and specific to CoreOS, but we can collaborate on this development feature as I'm already doing with Hetzner. So yeah, this is something we're totally open to do. And yeah, if we do this, it means that before each release, the Linode images will be fully tested through the test suites. So it means it provides some stability for Linode users, for example. It will prevent any regression to land into Linode before the release.
Yeah, I think that all sounds great. That sounds like something we can work towards. You know, if we do community support to start with, and then work towards official image.
Yeah.
That sounds great. And we're working as well, you know, on our side to get things along towards that official support as well. So I'd say we're community support within ourselves as well right now. But as the patches are merged and we get everything integrated, then that can only continue to move things along. So. Or we just ship, Tormath images to everybody, and that's fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure the security team will be happy with this. But yeah, there is no rush, of course, for the official support. We can currently provide the images, and people just need to import them into Linode. As long as it's documented, or there is Terraform example or whatever, it's fine for everyone, I guess. It's just more handy to get everything on the same place from the portal to deploy things. And yeah, I was just curious also regarding do you have some QA policies? For example, if there is a new Ubuntu or Debian image, do you run tests before providing it into the portal, or like so? Yeah, that would be nice to see how do you do stuff, and if we can meet the halfway.
Sure. Yeah, there's certainly a internal for official image, right? An official image process to get things updated and rolled out. I'm not sure the timeline for us to be able to do that, but I think the good news is that if it's an official or even community support on the Flatcar side, we can always just upload it just like Nick did,
yeah,
and do the same, like have the same access to use it, and have everyone do it. It just might not be a shared like public production image that that you use the same one. But I think anyone to start with can certainly just download it from Flatcar, upload it to their account, and then use it just like Nick showed. So I think it lets us kind of really make a lot of progress here, and then work on getting it listed in the right areas as we go.
Okay, so next step is cluster API support.
Yeah, absolutely. Evan's like, yes.
So see you in 3 months for a new demo, cluster API in Linode and Flatcar.
Sounds good.
But that should be quite simple because there is already ignition support on cluster API side. So as long as the API, your cluster API implementation is able to upload the user data, whatever, inside your instance metadata service, that should be all right.
I've been looking at the OpenStack Flatcar SysX template.
Yeah.
Is that the most up-to-date one that we should use as an example?
So yeah, as Thilo mentioned, there is two ways of deploying things regarding cluster API. So the first one is to use the image builder solution, and the other one is to use the CSX approach. And basically, in the CSX approach, you will download the Kubernetes components during the boot of the instance. So it's pretty convenient because you can just use the image from the Flatcar release servers.
Great.
No need to use image builder.
Yeah, with image builder, so with the SysX approach would basically, at the point in time where you have stock Flatcar images available to provision on Linode, one way or the other, you're there. You just need to patch in a little bit of ignition config, and Cluster API will actually do that for you. That will instruct Flatcar, please download the Kubernetes SysX from there. Put it here, maybe even set up like a update routine for it if you so desire, and then you're good. Whereas with image builder, as soon as Flatcar is available on Linode, your work starts from scratch. You take the Flatcar image and then you build a cluster API image from that, and then you host that. And I think it's way too complicated.
Yeah, we have so far avoided having to use image builder in our API provider, so we'd like to continue doing that if possible. Awesome, thanks for the pointer.
I also maintain a bare metal Kubernetes implementation with cluster API with Flatcar. I just pasted this on the chat. Maybe it's of interest. It's the same thing as on OpenStack. The difference is that it's on bare metal, and it's a little bit more complicated with the networking part and a few other quirks. Maybe you find them useful.
Thank you. I'll take a look.
Yeah, it's also for ARM64, if I recall correctly, which made me think to this question. Do you provide ARM64 architectures on Linode or for the virtual machines?
We do not.
We do not.
Okay.
x86 only.
Okay, perfect.
Although we do have GPUs now, so that's exciting because everyone needs GPUs.
There's one question on the YouTube chat. A user named SRE asks or expresses their interest in the CLI setup that was demoed. Maybe if there's some documentation or even just a GitHub gist about it, like how to arrive there.
Sure. Yeah, just a make file. I can splat down GitHub just for that.
Awesome. If you could just attach this as a comment in the meeting agenda on the GitHub discussion, basically, that will be discoverable. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Nick. That'd be great.
Yeah, I will paste the pull request also in the discussion. A pull request to bring Linode documentation.
That is very cool.
All right. I guess we're ready to move to the other items on the agenda, but we don't have any other items on the agenda. And we won't be doing the release planning this week. We would wait for the developer sync to do that, which opened the discussion for everyone who wants to anticipate. I don't want to put anyone on the spotlight, but Adrian and Chui, maybe you guys want to share something, what you've been working on lately.
My stuff's more of interest to just maintaining it for the moment. So yeah, I'll wait for the developer meeting.
Yeah, just to give a little bit of context on the SDK to build Flatcar on ARM, and afterwards, if it works okay, to add support also for RISC. Currently, we are building Flatcar for ARM on AMD 64 boxes, so we want to build it natively. And then to add support for RISC. And it's gonna be a process, but if you happen to have a need for it, let us know.
Okay, so if anyone wants to bring any topic, it would be a good time now.
Yeah, just to go back to the release topic, on the planning, it states that the release should happen this week, and it will happen in 2 weeks, actually.
our release engineer is in his well-deserved vacation, and just because he'll be back soon, we didn't accommodate for a secondary for him, so he can just relax a little, and then he'll be able to officially drive the release. Otherwise, we look for replacement maintainers to jump in, but it's really not that urgent. Like, there's nothing urgent waiting to come out. Actually, maybe in 2 weeks from now, there will be another Afterburn release, and that will be very nice for the Linode stuff.
But I'm just thinking about this. I think we should go ahead and release partial support with just Ignition and OEM support for Flatcar, and like so folks can already try it and give some feedback on Ignition side or just on the Linode side. And then a few weeks after we get the Afterburn release, I think it makes more sense maybe to release now because we have the Ignition features already. But yeah, we can still discuss about this on metrics.
I mean, that's what alpha is for at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't break any tests, like half-done features can absolutely go to alpha.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I can ping CoreOS folks to get some update on the Afterburn release.
Yeah. Stephen, do you want to mention what you just wrote in the chat in the meeting, because the chat unfortunately is not part of the recording?
Okay. Yeah, I can post this somewhere else as well. Just wanted to mention that Nick is posting the gist to work on Linode. If you want to try on Linode, you can get $100 free credit for new accounts. So if you want to try out Flatcar and not spend money, that's a great way to get started. So I can post that somewhere.
Awesome.
Where should I post that link? I guess there we go. Okay, cool. Thanks.
So we just added the link again to the discussion if anyone's watching and wondering where is that. Cool. So if there's no one who wants to add anything, I guess we could wrap it up for today. Thank you for tuning in, and see you maybe next month or in 2 weeks if you're around for the developer sync.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, folks.